I started working the overnight drive-thru shift at a fast food restaurant 6 months ago because the pay was an extra $3 per hour and I desperately needed the money for rent. But 2 weeks ago, around 2 a.m., I was handing a bag of food through the window when the customer suddenly grabbed my wrist and tried to pull me out while simultaneously trying to climb through the window into the restaurant. The job was simple enough. I worked alone from midnight to 6 a.m. Most of that time was spent cleaning and restocking. The drive-thru would get maybe 10 to 15 cars total during my entire shift, usually between midnight and 2 a.m. After that, it was dead. Complete silence until the morning crew arrived. The restaurant was in a decent area, shopping center, well-lit parking lot. I felt safe enough. The doors were locked. The only way to interact with customers was through the drive-thru window. Small window, maybe 2 feet by 2 feet, just big enough to pass food and take payment. I'd been doing this for 6 months without any real problems. 2 weeks ago started like any other night. I clocked in at midnight. The evening shift manager left, locked the doors behind her. I was alone. Spent the first hour cleaning fryers and restocking cups. Around 1 a.m., I got my first car. Normal order. Cheeseburger and fries. Handed it out. They drove away. Got 2 more cars over the next hour. Both normal. Then, around 2:15 a.m., I heard the drive-thru alert. Card the speaker. I walked to the headset, put it on, said my usual greeting. A voice ordered, male, deep, slurred slightly like he was drunk. Ordered a large meal, 4 burgers, 2 large fries, 3 drinks. I repeated it back. He confirmed. I told him to pull forward. I started making the order. Took about 5 minutes. The burgers were already cooked, just had to assemble everything, bag it up. I walked to the window, opened it. The car was there. Older sedan, dark color, hard to see in the dim light. The driver was leaning toward the window. I could see his face partially. Middle-aged, unshaven, wearing a stained jacket. I told him the total. He handed me cash, crumpled bills. I counted it, exact amount. I gave him his drinks first, through the window. He took them, set them in his car. I grabbed the bags of food, 2 large bags, leaned toward the window to hand them out. That's when it happened. As I extended the bags through the window, he grabbed my wrist. His hand was strong, rough. He yanked hard, pulled me forward. My chest hit the window ledge. The bags fell. I tried to pull back, but he had both hands on my wrist now, pulling, trying to drag me through the window. I screamed, pulled back as hard as I could. Then I saw his other hand reach up, grab the window frame. He was trying to climb in, trying to pull himself up while pulling me out. His face was close now, inches from mine. He was smiling, not saying anything, just smiling, pulling. I planted my feet, pulled back with everything I had. My wrist was burning. His grip was cutting off circulation. I reached for the window with my free hand, tried to slide it closed, but I couldn't reach. He was blocking it. Half his body was through now, chest pressed against the ledge, one leg up, trying to get leverage. I did the only thing I could think of. I grabbed the hot coffee pot from the warmer behind me, threw it at his face. Hot coffee splashed across him. He let go immediately, screamed, fell backward out of the window. I slammed the window shut, locked it. I ran to the back of the restaurant, grabbed my phone, called 911, told them what happened. They said officers were coming. I stayed in the back, away from the window. I could hear his car still running, engine idling. Then I heard the door, the front door. He was trying the handle, pulling on it, banging, yelling. Incoherent words, just yelling. I crouched behind the prep station, phone in hand, shaking. The banging continued for maybe 2 minutes, then stopped. I heard his car rev, tires squealing. He drove away. Police arrived 5 minutes later. I let them in, told them everything, showed them my wrist, red marks, bruising forming. They took photos, checked the parking lot, found his bags of food on the ground under the window, found his cash. They checked security cameras, got footage of everything. His face, his car, license plate. They said they'd find him. I gave my statement. They told me to go to the hospital, get checked out. I did. My wrist was sprained,
bruised badly. Doctor said I was lucky. If he'd pulled any harder, he could have dislocated my shoulder or broken my wrist. I took 2 weeks off. Couldn't work. Couldn't stop thinking about it. The police called after 4 days, said they found him, arrested him at his apartment. He was drunk when they got there, didn't remember the incident, didn't remember me. They charged him with assault, attempted kidnapping. He's awaiting trial now. The restaurant offered me a different shift, daytime, no overnight. I thought about it, decided to quit instead. I couldn't go back there, couldn't stand at that window, couldn't hand food to strangers in the dark. Not after feeling his hands on my wrist, seeing his face inches from mine, watching him try to climb through. I got a different job, office work, daytime hours. But sometimes I still feel it, the grip on my wrist, the pulling, and I wonder what would have happened if I hadn't thrown that coffee, if he'd made it all the way through that window, into the restaurant, alone with me, in the dark.
I'd been working the late-night drive-thru at a burger chain for almost a year when I started noticing the same car coming through every night at exactly 3:30 a.m., always ordering the same meal and always asking me personal questions through the speaker, until last month when he showed up on foot and tried to follow me to my car when my shift ended. The overnight shift wasn't bad most nights. Quiet, predictable. I'd get to know the regulars, people who worked night shifts at hospitals or factories. They'd come through around the same time, order the same things. We'd exchange pleasantries. It was routine, comfortable. One regular started coming about 3 months ago. Always 3:30 a.m., same car, white SUV, same order, 2 burgers, large fries, large Coke. He'd pull up to the speaker, order, pull forward to the window, pay, take his food, leave. Same every time. Except he'd always try to talk, through the speaker, through the window, asking questions. Where was I from? How long had I worked there? Did I go to school? At first, I answered, trying to be polite, customer service, but the questions got more personal. Did I live nearby? Did I have a boyfriend? What time did I get off work? I started giving vague answers, changed the subject, tried to keep it professional, but he kept asking every night, same time, same questions, getting more specific, more invasive. I mentioned it to my manager. She said as long as he wasn't threatening me, there wasn't much she could do. Just stay professional, don't answer personal questions. If he made me uncomfortable, I could refuse service. I decided to just avoid engaging. When he'd order, I'd take it, give him his total. When he'd pull to the window, I'd hand him his food, say thank you, close the window, not give him time to talk. This worked for a while. He'd try to start conversations, but I'd just smile, nod, close the window. He seemed frustrated, but didn't push it. Then last month, things escalated. He came through at his usual time, 3:30 a.m., ordered his usual meal, but when he pulled to the window, something was different. He was wearing different clothes, nicer, like he'd dressed up. He handed me his card. I processed it, handed it back, gave him his food. He smiled, said, "You look really pretty tonight." I said thank you, started to close the window. He said, "Wait, I wanted to ask you something." I hesitated, kept my hand on the window. He said, "Would you want to go out sometime, maybe grab coffee?" I said I was flattered, but no thank you, I didn't date customers. He frowned, said, "Come on, just coffee. I come here every night just to see you." I felt uncomfortable. Said I really couldn't. It was against policy. He stared at me. His expression changed, from friendly to angry. He said, "You've been leading me on, being nice to me. Now you're saying no?" I said I was just doing my job, being polite to all customers. He said, "You a tease, you know that?" I closed the window. He sat there, car idling, staring at me through the glass. After about 30 seconds, he drove away. Fast.
tires squealing. I reported it to my manager the next day, showed her the security footage. She said she'd ban him if he came back and caused problems, but he didn't come back, not for a week. I thought maybe he'd given up, moved on. Then, last Tuesday, my shift ended at 6 a.m. like usual. The morning crew had arrived. I clocked out, grabbed my bag, walked out the employee entrance to the back parking lot where I'd parked. It was still dark. The sun wasn't up yet. I unlocked my car, opened the door, heard footsteps behind me, fast, running. I turned. He was there, the regular, running toward me. I jumped in my car, slammed the door, hit the lock button. He grabbed the handle, pulled, yelling, "I just want to talk to you. Why are you being such a bitch?" I started the engine. He was still pulling the handle, banging on the window. I put the car in reverse. He stepped back. I backed out fast. He followed, running after my car. I drove toward the exit. He stopped running, just stood there, watching me leave. I drove straight to the police station, filed a report, told them everything, showed them photos I'd taken of my schedule, proof I'd been at work. They said they'd investigate, asked if I had his name. I didn't, just knew what he looked like, his car. They checked the restaurant's security footage, got images of his face, his license plate, tracked him down. He lived 3 miles from the restaurant. When they went to his apartment, they found something disturbing. Photos, printed photos of me taken through the drive-thru window. Dozens of them, from different nights, different angles. He'd been photographing me for months. They also found my schedule, printed out, with notes, times I arrived, times I left, what door I used, where I parked. He'd been watching me, planning something. They arrested him for stalking, harassment. He's awaiting trial. The restaurant installed better lighting in the back lot, security cameras, panic buttons. But I quit. Couldn't work there anymore. Couldn't feel safe, even with the cameras and lights, because I know he's out there somewhere. Maybe on bail, maybe watching, waiting. I got a job at a different place, different part of town, different shift. Daytime only. But I still check my mirrors constantly, still look over my shoulder in parking lots, still wonder if he found me, if he's watching, taking photos, learning my new routine, waiting for another chance.
I worked as a night manager at a 24-hour fast food restaurant for 3 years and thought I dealt with every type of difficult customer until 6 months ago, when I had to fire an employee for stealing, and he started coming through the drive-thru every night after that, ordering food just to stare at me through the window and tell me he knew where I lived. Managing the overnight shift meant dealing with difficult situations. Drunk customers, homeless people asking for food, occasional arguments. I'd handled it all professionally, never had major incidents. My team was small, just me and 2 other employees working midnight to 6 a.m. One of them was a guy named Marcus, early 20s, had worked there about 4 months. Seemed fine at first, showed up on time, did his job, but I started noticing problems. Cash register was short multiple times during his shifts. Food inventory wasn't matching up. I watched him carefully, checked security footage, caught him stealing, taking cash from the register, taking food home without paying. I documented everything, reported it to upper management. They told me to terminate him. I did. Called him into my office during his shift, showed him the evidence, explained he was being let go for theft. He didn't deny it, just stared at me, said, "You're really going to fire me over this?" I said yes, company policy. He stood up, said, "You're going to regret this." I told him to leave, escorted him out. He left without taking his final check, said he'd come back for it. He never did. That was 6 months ago. A week after firing him, he came through the drive-thru, 2 a.m., ordered a small meal. When I opened the window to hand him his food, he was smiling, said, "Hey boss, miss me?" I said hello, stayed professional, handed him his food. He said, "You know, I've been thinking about you a lot, about what you did to me." I said, "I did what I had to do." He said, "Yeah, I understand. You were just doing your job. I respect that." He drove away. I thought that was the end of it. But he came back the next night, same time, ordered food, pulled up to the window, said, "You look tired. Long shift?" I said yes, handed him his food. He said, "You should be careful driving home in the dark.
Bad things can happen. I asked what he meant. He smiled, said, just general advice. You never know who's out there. He drove away. This continued every night for 2 weeks. Same routine. He'd order, pull up, make vague threatening comments. I saw your car in the parking lot earlier. Nice car. You live on Maple Street, right? That's a nice neighborhood. You should lock your doors better. Someone could walk right in.
I reported it to the police, filed a harassment report. They said without direct threats, there wasn't much they could do. They'd do extra patrols. I installed security cameras at my house, changed my locks, varied my route home. But he kept coming through the drive-thru. Every night. Same comments. I told corporate. They said I could refuse service, ban him from the property. I tried. The next night, when he ordered, I said through the speaker that he was banned. He pulled forward anyway, to the window. I didn't open it. He sat there, engine running, staring at the window. 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Finally, I called the police, told them he was trespassing. They came. He drove away before they arrived. They couldn't do anything. The next night, I was ready. Had police on speed dial, security footage ready to record. He came through at 2 a.m., ordered. I refused, said he needed to leave. He said, "You can't refuse me service. I'm a paying customer." I said I could and was. He said, "Fine, then I'll wait in the parking lot. Public property. I can sit there as long as I want." He pulled into a parking spot, faced the building, sat there, engine off, just sitting, watching. I called the police. They came, talked to him. He said he was waiting for a friend, just sitting in his car. Not illegal. They couldn't make him leave. This happened 3 more times. He'd come through, I'd refuse service. He'd park in the lot, watch. Police would come. He'd have an excuse. They'd leave. He'd stay another hour, then drive away. I couldn't take it anymore. The stress, the fear, not knowing when he'd escalate. I quit after 3 weeks of this, found a different job, different industry. But before I left, I learned something that terrified me. Another employee told me Marcus had asked about me, wanted to know my full name, my address, my schedule, when I worked next. The employee hadn't told him anything, but it meant he was actively trying to gather information, trying to find me outside of work. I moved 2 months ago. Different apartment, different part of the city. Changed my phone number, deleted social media, started over. But last week, I was at a grocery store and I saw him in the parking lot, sitting in his car. Same car. He saw me, smiled, waved. I got in my car, drove away. He didn't follow, at least not that I saw. But I know he found me. Somehow he knows where I am. And I don't know what he wants. Doesn't know where I work now, where I live now. But he's out there, somewhere, watching, waiting. And every time I see a car idling in a parking lot, every time someone pulls up behind me on the road, I wonder if it's him. If this is the time he decides watching isn't enough anymore.